all aboard the Ireland versus Scotland hype train. It's just over 2 days to that game. The final round of pool matches gets underway this evening here in Lyon. I'll be at that game, I'll be at France-Italy tomorrow, and I will be in Paris for Scotland against Ireland to see the conclusion of the battle for those qualification spots in Pool B. The momentum felt like it went off a little bit last weekend in the Rugby World Cup. Slightly less interest. I don't know what you sort of felt about that, but it feels like it's very much back for this with the last weekend of pool matches as we springboard straight into the knockouts. It's been going for a month now, but the Rugby World Cup kind of feels like it's just getting going. So yeah, let's talk about that on this video. I'm Tim, this is Egg Chasers, and if I haven't already, I hope I will earn your subscription. There is lots to come on the channel. So give it a thumbs up, leave your comments as well. So effectively, what's the state of play? Ireland versus Scotland is basically a knockout game, kinda, around a 16 match if you will. And there's been lots of talk, let's just head this off at the past. There's been lots of talk about the different permutations that could lead to South Africa not qualifying for the quarterfinals. Never happening. It's just not happening. Let's not go there. There is going to be no collusion or conspiracy between Scotland and Ireland. I know they are Celtic nations, they are friends, but no, just no, it's not going to happen. So I think we can just end that one. In fact, do you know what? If by some miracle, well, two things will happen. If by some miracle Scotland score like 50 points and win by 22 points, but Ireland still get 4 tries, two things will happen. One, World Rugby will probably open an investigation into match fixing because it's not going to happen. And secondly, I will do a video from outside the Stade de France, naked, except for a picture of Razzie Erasmus with a big grin on his face, covering my privates. How about that? That's how confident I am it's not happening. Let's just end it. What will happen is that Scotland and Ireland are going to have a shootout, and one of them is going to qualify for the quarterfinals, probably Ireland in top spot, and the 8-point cushion that they've got, so they can lose but get a losing bonus point and still progress. However, history, form, tells us that Scotland's chances of winning are slight. Ireland have won 16 games in a row. Ireland are the world #1 team. Ireland are full of confidence. Ireland, on past form, have got the better of Scotland. They've got the muscle memory of beating them. And there's a lot of talk about Ireland being under pressure. Again, that's something else that I think I want to kind of knock on the head. This talk of, oh, Ireland could lose and go out, or they're the world #1 team. I don't see it. Because I don't think anything's changed. Honestly, has anything changed now versus at any point since the draw was made? 2.5 years ago when the draw was made, Ireland knew, right, we're going to have to beat Scotland on the last round of pool games. Because in all likelihood, Scotland would either have beaten South Africa or would have lost to South Africa, but would have won their other games. The disappointment from Scotland's point of view is that they couldn't manage a bonus point against South Africa, and that has changed the complexion of this game a little bit and tilted it even more in Ireland's favour. But nothing's really changed. And I think you don't win 16 games in a row as a team without having a really good mentality. And I think that's what Ireland have got now. They've always had this date in their crosshairs, and they've always known it was a must-win. Scotland, exactly the same, really. I mean, it feels a bit more knockout, but Scotland always knew that was going to be the case as well, because even if South Africa had beaten Ireland, Scotland know, because of the head-to-head nature of the pool stages and how positions are decided, they knew they had to win. So I kind of think nothing's really changed mentally for either team. The only difference is, as I keep saying, Scotland know they cannot just win, they have to win and win well. What's going to be quite interesting is the approach that the teams have to the game. I was thinking about the last time Scotland beat Ireland was in the Six Nations in 2017, and they got off to a really quick start. And that's, I think, what Scotland have got to do. One thing definitely to watch out for is what happens if they get a penalty early in the game. Do they kick for sticks, I imagine they probably will kick for post, but it'll be quite interesting to see if they go for the corner, go for the jugular a bit. Which, if they look back to 2017 and the fast start that they got, that may be what they do. But another aspect of this game is I think Ireland will want to start fast. Not just because if they get out to a lead, I think basically they'll break Scotland. They could break them in the opening quarter. If Ireland get a 10, 12 point lead early, and Scotland know they've got to climb that mountain, I think it could psychologically break them. But also because I was thinking back to Ireland playing against South Africa. And if you remember, Johnny Sexton kicked for the corner quite early in the game. It's clearly something Ireland are focusing on, is just trying to get out fast. They haven't actually managed it yet, and they didn't convert that kick to the corner into a try, but it's clearly something they're thinking about. So that'll be interesting from both teams' perspective to see what they do. I think the only danger for Ireland would be overconfidence. But again, I just don't see that. I just don't see that being a factor. Again, 16 games in a row. And I think for most players on the pitch, it's just another game. If you think you've got that old phrase, you've got the piano shifters and you've got the piano players. I think in most cases, the people on the pitch, particularly the forwards, are like, well, it doesn't matter what the permutations of the match are. I'm going to go out and smash rucks. I'm going to make my tackles. I'm going to make hard ball carries. I'm going to push hard in the scrum. I think it will just be basically Johnny Sexton, Finn Russell, the scrum halves, probably the line-out captains as well, will be thinking about these sort of permutations, so it helps make their decisions. But again, I think for the most part, I think nothing really changes. Oh, so I've just noticed a field with a load of camper vans in. It would have been useful to know, seeing as I have one of them. It's just around the corner from where I have crashed, funnily enough. Yeah, interesting. Very close to the stadium as well, this. So, yeah. I think also psychologically, Ireland are brilliant at dealing with these kind of scenarios. The way that do you remember how we all suddenly started getting really excited about the 7-1 split and started wondering what impact this would have on Ireland psychologically? South Africa named their team early. They had the 7-1 split. You had some people like Matt Williams saying it's not fair, they shouldn't be allowed to do it. And that was the narrative for the next few days. And you can imagine Rassie Erasmus was sitting back giggling that he'd kind of controlled the narrative. But to be fair to Andy Farrell, Mike Catt, his coaching team, his players, they just shrugged it off, weren't fazed by it at all. And they stuck to the way that they play. And I think, again, we're all going to be talking about permutations, Scotland, what they're going to do. Ireland are just going to do what they do, because that's how they've got to the world #1 spot, and that's how they've got 16 wins in a row. I think where Scotland can do damage and have done damage in the past is with width, and Ireland actually they do defend quite narrow. But I think the second that they saw, again, this is going back 2.5 years, I think the second that they saw that in their pool was South Africa and Scotland, I think right then, at that moment, they would have gone, right, our defence in wide channels needs to be absolutely on the money. And one feature of Ireland's play, actually, recently, has been how good they are at jackling in those wide channels. James Lowe, it's clearly something they've been working on. James Lowe and Mac Hansen are really handy at the breakdown. So when teams try and go wide, one of the dangers of going wide is that you become quite isolated when you get tackled. So you're vulnerable to a turnover threat. And we saw that against South Africa. James Lowe was like, I was looking at him going, I did not know he had that in him. But he's obviously been getting better at it, and I think he's been getting better at it because Ireland have known they're going to have to face the challenge of South Africa and Scotland. That said, you know, it's a bit of a cliche at this point to go, oh, they've got Finn Russell, they've got Darcy Graham, they've got game breakers, Scotland can do it. They can do it. I don't think they will, but they can. I think they've just got to make it interesting. That first 10-15 minutes, I'm fascinated by the approach for the teams. I think will tell a lot about how the game's going to go from that first penalty that either team gets and what they do. If Ireland go for the corner and convert, it could be game over pretty quickly. equally, you know, for all the things I've been talking about, well, Ireland are really good at defending in the wide channels. Maybe Scotland have got something else up their sleeve, because again, I'll come back to it. Both teams have known they have to win this game as soon as a draw was made 2.5 years ago. So I cannot wait. The teams will get announced later this afternoon, this evening. I'll have another video coming then in the build-up. I will be at the Lyon Stadium for New Zealand v Uruguay. That's tonight. France v Italy tomorrow. And I'm up to Paris for Scotland v Ireland. Game on, bring it on. Please hit subscribe on the channel. Leave your comments, tell me what you think about this matchup, the psychological approach to it, where the game will be won and lost, what the key battles are, and I will see you on the next video.